I hereby call the City Council meeting for December 14th to order. If everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember King.
Here.
Councilmember Mercado. Councilmember Rife.
Here.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Here.
And Mayor Sierra.
Here. Thank you very much. My understanding is Councilmember Mercado is on vacation.
That is correct.
An excused absence. Thank you very much. And our counselor, Steve McEwen, is with us by phone tonight.
Hello.
Hi, Steve.
Hi.
Okay, so any reordering of the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Public comments. I have not received any speaker slips tonight. Now's your big chance to turn in those slips and talk about anything you want to talk about for 3 minutes. Seeing nothing, I'm closing public comment. Moving on to the consent calendar. We've got a few items today. We have the minutes of November 9th, 2017, regular City Council meeting. List of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date for fiscal year 2017-18. The year 2018 proposed calendar of City Council meetings. Revenue and expenditure reports through October 31st, 2017. The monthly treasurer's report, October 31st, 2017. Monthly activity report, enterprise funds through October 31, 2017. The monthly private project balance report through October 31, 2017. And the growth mitigation annual compliance report for fiscal year 2016-17. I did have one question on the agenda item number 7, the monthly private project balance report. Just a quick question.
Well, I was going to make a motion. I was going to ask for one pulled.
Which one would you like pulled?
I would move approval of items 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8.
And you'd like to
discuss number 1 and 7.
Number 1 and 7.
Second.
Alrighty, Linda?
Okay, Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Rife.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you. You want to go first since you have number 1?
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to see if we could modify the, there was attachment 3 in our last agenda, page 168, for the layout of the usable and non-usable space in the for the facilities. And we have 2.5 feet here, but it should, I would like to ask it be drawn for any misunderstandings, because it says side and rear yard storage from structure 2.5 feet from property lines, and we asked about that before, and I don't want to have any confusion down the road on it.
Well, I can't change attachment 3 because that was part of the packet. When I bring back the ordinance, we will have a new exhibit associated with that.
And I figured we were seeing it again, but I just wanted to make sure, because people that looked at it said, no, you didn't. I said, I think we discussed that, and it was said property lines,
yes,
front to rear.
Yes.
Okay, that's all that I asked for it to be. So then with that, I would...
We could clarify.
Yes.
Fine-tune.
Just
yeah.
the drawing, I think, tells a lot of the story, and so I would move for approval of 1 if
okay.
you want to...
One more, Mayor. So that the one that's been modified is in the one that will be the ordinance, correct?
I will bring an ordinance back based on council direction, and that's basically the diagram that was attachment 3.
Gotcha. Okay. I'll second that in.
Thank you.
Linda?
So, okay.
We're on 1, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so that's item 1. Okay, so...
Just an asterisk for future, I guess.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Rife.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you. And mine's really quick, too, with the monthly private project balance report. I see that we are still owed a lot of money. I'm just curious. This shows what the current is, and I didn't have an opportunity to compare it to the last one. Are we getting any more collections from money that's owed to us from developers? Is that cutting down?
It's cutting down a little bit. One of the projects just emailed us just the other day because a new billing went out, and they wanted to know the total of all their invoices because they do plan to pay, and that's about $25,000 that we're gonna get. So that puts a little bit of a dent, but there's still the two largest one that is pending.
That we're working
Yes.
on now.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. I just had nothing to compare it to, and I didn't have an opportunity to talk to you. So I move that we approve Agenda Item 7, the monthly private project balance report through October 31, 2017.
Second.
Go ahead.
Second.
Linda?
Okay, let's see, Mayor Sierra,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik,
Aye.
Councilmember King,
Aye.
and Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Alrighty. Do we have any presentations tonight?
No, ma'am.
We move on then to public hearing 9, agenda item 9, ordinance number 17-05, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, under Government Code Section 65858A, extending for 1 year the moratorium on non-medical marijuana facilities and marijuana cultivation, except for private indoor cultivation of 6 marijuana plants or less, which shall be subject to reasonable regulations. Mr. Attorney Steve McEwen, your turn.
Thank you, Mayor Sierra. We're bringing this ordinance to you in order to extend the existing moratorium for 1 year. You might recall that following the adoption of Prop 64, the council elected to adopt a temporary moratorium while the council and city staff studied the issue of local marijuana or cannabis regulation. It's a complicated issue that has actually been changing throughout the year. There were 2 pieces of legislation that were adopted, one of them quite significant, that was Senate Bill 94, that was adopted and signed by the governor since the last time we came back to you with a moratorium extension. And that resulted in some pretty significant changes in the state marijuana laws. It did away with the separate regulatory system for medical marijuana or medical cannabis and combined both medical cannabis and adult use cannabis, which is what we often refer to as recreational cannabis, under one regulatory heading. And then there was a follow-up piece of legislation, and then just at the end of November, we got the draft regulations from the Bureau of Cannabis Control. I'm in the process of kind of going through those regulations for a number of cities to kind of summarize what impact and what significance they have for local regulation. So I think at this point it would be appropriate to extend the moratorium through January 2019. That would be the full 2-year period for the moratorium. And that'll give us some time to come back. We'll come back early next year, as early as possible, with a staff report and seek council direction on what you want to do as far as a permanent ordinance. Of course, no ordinance is permanent. You can always make changes as you go along. So if for the council to decide and adopt a policy early next year that, for example, they don't want to have any marijuana businesses in the city, that wouldn't preclude you from changing that position in the future, and vice versa. The state laws reserve full zoning authority for local jurisdictions. You can decide for yourself whether you want to allow the businesses or not allow them. We'll come back, like I said, early next year for a full discussion of that. But what this will do is give us a little more time to digest the recent regulations and present a full set of options for the council at the beginning of next year. And that way, if you have any questions about how certain businesses will look under the regulations, we'll be able to answer those fully at that time. Is there any questions?
Councilmember Wright?
Hey Steve, has the county weighed in at all, or are they still very much in the research and evaluate phases?
I believe they're still in the research phase. That's something we'll come back, and I know that you would want it as part of the follow-up, that there would be a breakdown of what other cities and jurisdictions are doing, particularly the Santa Barbara County jurisdictions.
And just let you know, Lompoc approved their ordinance. However, there is now going to be a referendum in 2018 on their ordinance from the people who did not want the regulations put into place. So theirs is will be in limbo in the city of Lompoc.
I will tell you that I've seen, and this would be something that we'll discuss more fully at the beginning of the year, cities are taking a wide variety of approaches, and some cities have gotten, out there early as far as regulating. They want to get in on it. Other cities have continued with prohibitions. It's a wide range of approaches. And, of course, extending the moratorium will give us a little more time to evaluate how those approaches are working. We know that January 1st, come January 1st, the Bureau of Cannabis Control is going to start accepting applications for state licenses. And not only the Bureau of Cannabis Control, but the other licensing authorities, Department of Food and Agriculture, Department of Public Health, just depending on which type of business is the subject of the application. And I think at least initially they'll be issuing some temporary licenses if those businesses are located in jurisdictions that allow those types of businesses. So obviously, if the city extends the moratorium tonight, then Mark and I will forward the moratorium ordinance to the Bureau of Cannabis Control so that they know that at least temporarily the city doesn't allow those businesses.
Okay. Thanks.
Vice Mayor Andresic?
Steve, are you aware of, because of our geographic location, we do not abut another municipality on any of our borders. Are cities able to request a buffer zone, so to speak, so that they don't have something right up against their existing boundaries, given that we have an urban growth boundary and there may be a day that we wouldn't have?
No, I'm not aware of anything that would allow us to do that. I think whatever happens outside city boundaries would be up to the county. We could certainly weigh in if they're about to issue a permit.
But to get a negotiating offer, some sort of a buffer if possible. There'll be big discussions, I guess, on that.
Well, and I will make a note of that, and we can discuss that more fully when we come back for the substantive discussion and on what direction the council wants to go with marijuana regulation.
To look at.
I don't want to give it away without trying to freeways.
Any questions from you? Just one from me, Steve, and then I'll open it for public comment. So this moratorium is on the basically commercial marijuana businesses, and the come January 1st, when everybody wants to grow their 6 marijuana plants, they'll still be able to do that.
People can grow their 6 marijuana plants right now. That went into effect the day after the initiative was adopted. So since November 9th of 2016, it's been legal in the state of California for an individual to grow 6 plants or less at a private residence. Now what our moratorium does is we are restricting that to indoor grows. Under state law, we can't prohibit cultivation of 6 plants or less indoors. Now that's 6 plants per property or per private residence. You can't have multiple people living together, each growing 6 plants. State law says no more than 6 plants per private residence. And that's what we're allowing under this moratorium. Going into this, we had an existing ordinance that dealt with medical marijuana dispensaries, and it was defined broadly to cover all types of medical marijuana activities. What we wanted to do was to adopt a moratorium that would extend to non-medical marijuana facilities, and also recognize that marijuana cultivation of 6 plants or less is now legal under both state and local law. We don't have the authority to prohibit indoor plant grows of 6 plants or less. We can prohibit, and that's what we do in the moratorium, outdoor grows. And that's something that we can address when we come back in the beginning of the year. Some cities continuing with language that mirrors what we have in the moratorium. I've had other cities that have allowed both indoor and outdoor cultivation, and just subjected them to reasonable building and safety type of regulations.
Thank you. Alrighty, I will open this up for public comment. If anybody out in the audience wants to get up and talk about, give their impressions, questions, opinions, I'm hereby closing public comment, moving it back to council for action.
And just to remind the council, it will require all 4 of you to vote in the affirmative for this particular ordinance.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the prohibition. Do I read the whole thing?
Just the ordinance number and the title.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 17-05, ordinance of the City Council, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, Government Code Section 6585A Alpha, extending for 1 year the moratorium on non-medical marijuana facilities and marijuana cultivation, except for private marijuana cultivation for 6 marijuana plants or less, which shall be subject to reasonable regulations.
Second.
Very good.
Okay, Councilmember Rife.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you very much, Steve.
I was on debate scholarship.
You're welcome.
We move on to council member comments and items. Does anybody have any comments or items they'd like to bring up? Things that are going on around town? How incredibly nice the tree lighting ceremony was?
I'll go, sure. You want me to go loud?
Councilmember?
Yeah, I did go to the tree lighting. That was good. Barb and staff and everyone else I thought did an unbelievable job. Barb was handing out cookies, so she obviously is the first person I remembered. But I thought the tree lighting looked great. It was crowded. The snow was awesome as usual, so I thought that was pretty cool. On another note, I need to regretfully resign. I'm going to be moving for corporate and personal reasons to the great state of Ohio, and it'll probably be effective January. I'm not exactly sure. I would assume that I will most certainly be here for the first meeting, most likely doubtful the second meeting. So
Yeah, January 11th, you should be here.
I have every expectation.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's it.
You will be missed.
Well, I'll miss all of you, and I'll miss the city, and onward and upward.
We will do the appropriate notification to fill the appointment.
Vice Mayor Andrusik?
On, well, there were two that I think the first one was in November,
December
the
1st.
joint front, December the, oh, I'm sorry, so I did have it right. First thing I attended was November 17th, the Santa Barbara County Energy Watch Partnership, which is a collaborative effort of energy providers, Southern Cal, Edison, and PG&E, are institutional and local partnerships for the Energy Watch, and it just lets everybody kind of understand what their capabilities are and where, what they have room for and what they may be running out of. So, and that was informative as in the Santa Maria and up Santa Maria. And the second item was the 1st of December. We had a transition ceremony for the Joint Functional Component Command for Space, and a change of command. I think were there 2 of us or more? I think there were 2 of us.
The 2 of us.
Oh, there were 2 of us. The mayor and I attended, but it was a great ceremony and a send-off for General Buck, and gave us a new 14th Air Force commander. Thank you.
Anything from you? I just had a couple. With the fires going on, thanks to Vice Mayor Andrusik, direct relief, that there are masks still available at Albertsons and CVS. If there are any people in need up here, that the senior thrift shop still has clothing, blankets, towels to help out, and all you need to do is go by. They're there to help out. They put together a big truckload today for somebody going to Ojai. So if anybody knows anybody who needs any help. And then the last one I have is last night I went to the Special Olympics informational session, and we are having a Special Olympics, a basketball competition here in Buellton at our rec center. It's open for anybody 8 to 22 years old. And they will be passing out applications. All our athletes need is an okay from their doctor that they can compete, and we're hoping to start practices in February and in March or April to have a big Special Olympics basketball game. So I'm really excited about that. I think It's something our valley needs very badly. Nothing else? Then we move on to agenda item number 10, appointment of vice mayor. Vice Mayor Andrasik has done a really, really good job. I've had one council member Council Member King, I would like to put his name up.
I think that's a great idea.
Sure.
Are you,
You need to
every,
second.
Consensus?
Consensus is consensus.
okay. Congratulations,
Thank you, Mayor.
Congratulations. Signs.
and thank you very much. Next we get on to appointments to boards, commissions, committees. I know it's going to be an easy night for you.
Yes.
And I'm really hoping that Vice Mayor Andrasik will hopefully keep the jobs that he had, because he's done an incredibly good job and he's always backed me up. So with that, we'll move on to agenda item number 11, appointments to boards, commissions, committees. We can go step by step, or we could,
I would just go step by step, get the consensus of everybody wants, and then you just do a consensus vote of the appointments.
Perfect. And remember, if there's anything anybody doesn't want, Councilmember Mercado is not here tonight. So
You do need a CCWA alternate. So just
I'm just saying. Okay, so the next
That's right.
first one we have is the Central Coast Water Authority. Vice Mayor Andrasik has been doing that for years and has done a really good job. I'm hoping that he will keep that.
You get your wish.
I would
If we
support
get 2
that.
more votes.
Everybody's
I would
okay with
support
that
that.
one? And his alternate, shall we ask, do you want to do it? Councilmember Mercado, he never did call me to tell me what he wanted either, so I'm just saying. Library Advisory Committee, that has been Councilman King's job. Would you be willing to continue that? And I would very much like to be the alternate. Santa Barbara County Association of Governments.
Mayor, do they have to weigh in on that? Those guys have to weigh in on these?
You just jump in if you don't like anything
Yeah,
that's
no,
being said.
We'll speak up.
Okay.
I don't know what difference it would make.
it's usually people.
You can do public comment.
It just goes through.
Ohio.
I'm certain there's been arguments about who's on who committee before.
Actually, the last few years there have not. I think everybody's pretty much.
Very quiet. So the SBCAG I have been doing, and I would very much like to continue that with Vice Mayor Andrasik as the alternate.
Yeah.
That's okay with everybody?
Okay.
And the same thing with APCD? Are you
Sure.
okay with me continuing it, you being the alternate?
Nothing's gone awry.
No, we've done really well.
We've got driverless
We've
cars.
gotten a little bit of money for our lights, our sidewalks, that helped.
Very good.
The California Joint Powers Insurance Authority, CJPIA.
CAJPIA.
I see a C there.
It's California. It's
Okay.
CAJPIA.
JPIA, yeah. Vice Mayor Andrasik has always done that and done a very good job. If you would be willing to continue. And I believe Councilmember Mercado was the alternate for that, so we'll keep him there. League of California Cities, LOCC voting delegate, that would be, well, it doesn't have to be, but
It should be.
It's typically the mayor and the
Mayor and
vice
Vice
mayor.
Mayor and the vice
we'll
mayor.
keep that there.
So then Vice Mayor King will now be the LOCC.
Okay. Buellton Chamber of Commerce, Board of Directors, that was you,
That was me.
Councilmember Wright.
And do you know if, Art, because they meet like the middle
I
of
don't
the
think
day.
Art could be
I
able to
think
meet.
Art's
Yeah, I don't think he's a.
They meet at 11. I call in because I can't attend it, so I've called in every single time.
Okay.
So that's an option. She shipped me the stuff, and it was electronic, and I called in from the base. But it's an hour meeting, and it's at 11. So take that for what it's worth.
I'm fairly close to it.
Are we okay? Because you usually serve for, it's 2 years, and then you're off for the 2 years? Which one is
I think they want you on for 2
2
years.
years? Yeah.
Oh.
So,
Okay. Well, then I can just. You want me to just stay on?
call in from Ohio. No.
Yeah.
So,
This is going to be odd because Art's not here, and then you're going to have another replacement. So you're going to have to essentially assign them
Your
stuff.
Your jobs.
Why don't you keep it with like Councilmember Rife, and then
So
when the
shall
new
we keep
person
it open
comes,
then?
we can.
we'll just keep it open then.
Okay.
And knowing that Vice Mayor Andrasik is willing to take that one too.
The backup.
The multi-jurisdictional solid waste task group, again, Vice Mayor Andrasik has done an amazing job handling
The 7-year
The poop of the matter, the trash of the matter.
meeting that we had.
Is that okay? That he continues that? Do we need an alternate?
No,
for
not
that?
an alternate, but you do need two members, so you need a second member for that.
Oh. Okay.
Art, right?
Yeah.
The Art.
Councilmember Mercado would love to be the backup man, the second on
Hear him
that.
saying it.
I can, yeah. The Economic Development Task Force. Councilmember King and I have done it. I don't think we've ever even met, have
Yes, we have.
we? Need a couple times.
We've met a couple times last year.
Continue
Yeah,
with
I
you.
could do that. You want to?
Okay.
Is there a second? You're the second, right? Or is there an alternate, Mark?
I believe we
Is there
both.
2 members?
Yeah, two members. So.
Okay.
Yeah. The City School Joint Use, that's Councilmember Mercado. He's been doing that one.
Good.
Home for Good, which was the Central Coast Collaborative on Homelessness that I went to, the meeting I went to this morning. I could either do it or perhaps Councilmember Mercado. It's the 4th Thursday of the month at 9 o'clock.
I really don't think he's going to be able to do that.
How about the new council?
You want
Oh,
to
that'll
take that,
go.
Foster, and give it to the new council member?
I will.
Well,
The next meeting is the 4th Thursday in March. That's when their next meeting is. So we
I
leave
would-
that one open too?
I would suggest maybe that the mayor have that on her
I can do
list, and then we can switch that over when the new person comes over. Because they may have something come up in
Perfect.
between, and you have the continuity for that.
That works. Okay. The Association of California Water Agencies, the Joint Powers Insurance Authority. Again, that's always been Vice Mayor Andrasik, and he's done a really good job.
They've never meet. We buy our, which insurance do we get?
Dental and vision.
We get dental and vision.
Don't you go down to the desert or one?
That's for the other one.
Oh, that's the other JPIA. Got it. Well, you've done a heck of a job.
I've turned in no mileage, plus no money. I can't cut my budget.
And for us to be in that organization, we need somebody on their board. And that's why.
Yep. And
we
they, I
have to
think the
nominate
last
somebody.
time they had a board meeting, it was like in Nebraska or something, and we chose not to go to the board.
Imagine. Okay, that's everything.
That is it.
So we're good with our boards, commissions, and committees. I want to thank you guys
Thank you.
very much for doing that. We're moving on to committee reports. Have we had any committee reports in the last month?
Not this time.
Okay, I just had the C3H
I want to.
this
I
morning.
wonder what column was good.
C3H is changing. It's been a government collaborative, which has made it very difficult to get funding since you can't give money to governments. Governments just kind of, we all pitched in a little bit, and United Way will be taking over, which is really going to be good for the program. They'll be the umbrella for Home for Good, which has done some amazing things in Los Angeles, and we're hoping to do some really good things in Santa Barbara County.
We have lots of contact networking too.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a good move.
yeah. Okay, Councilmember Rack, you said you had one?
Yeah, the Chamber of Commerce. So they've actually undergone. They've hired some consultants. We're including a new logo, a new motto. They're talking about how to revamp the website and make it more marketing driven to include social media, integrative aspects, and consumer driven, some CRM functions, and a whole new drive. So I applaud Kathy and the whole team. They hired a consultant, and some of the stuff they're putting out are good. And just, so we're trying to shape and focus it. You know, they're trying to like, well, we need to plan right, we need to spend right, but we can't go huge because we're not huge. So there's a lot of balance there. But anyway, I expect big changes. I mean, the whole Buellton logo is completely changing. So just FYI. So that hasn't been released. I saw a draft copy that I asked not to share because they're not really looking for comments yet because it's not official or anything like that. They haven't made any tough decisions, and they're still, it's still very much a prototype, and they're working on it in real time. So anyway, I'd expect big changes, especially on the website and marketing driven, all that stuff. So anyway, FYI, I thought you guys want to know that.
Thank you.
Pastor, I had a question. They had a outreach for advertising the ostrich on a bus. The San Simeon
at Hearst Castle.
At Hearst Castle. I'm just wondering. I've asked people to go, to see it. We used to see it in the community, but I just wondered if there'd been any dealings with that.
An ostrich on a bus.
When I asked, it's a skin on the
wraps.
Some of the
they call them wraps.
Wraps.
It had pea soup on one side. It had an ostrich on
it went over the windows, and people can see through it. Like the Chumash have scenes on the bus.
I understand what you're talking about.
It's an advertising for the ostrich farm, which is not our jurisdiction, but they coordinated it, and it made give a lot of recognition to our area. I didn't know if I was under the impression they had said they were going to renew that. It was a couple of $1,000s.
I don't think the chamber's paying for that. I bet you the ostrich farm is probably paying for that.
No, this was a chamber or visitors bureau project a few years ago on a bus that took people up and down from Hearst Castle.
It was interesting. Each city, Paso Robles had one, Pismo Beach had one, and you'd get on the bus to go up to Hearst Castle from the little loading area.
I see.
And then the idea was that these were all visitors, and you'd look at the bus and you'd say, "Oh, I must go to Buellton next because they have ostriches and pea soup there."
Okay, I got it now. No, I don't know. No, that's a conversation. Yeah, I think they're trying to vote. They're trying to catch the millennials are coming here, and so they're trying. And millennials don't do any tradition; it's all online, and it's all social media, and so we're lacking that severely with our website. So that's been the big push.
Vice Mayor Andres, you said you had something.
No, I didn't have any. I had none.
Fine. Nothing for you. Moving on to business items. Agenda item 12, discussion and direction regarding speed surveys throughout the city of Buellton. Ms. Hess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Member City Council. Bring up the staff report here. So the council has requested a discussion regarding speed surveys to be conducted throughout the city. Both I think council and staff has received numerous requests for surveys and speed limits, etc. throughout town. A lot of these requests is specific for speed enforcement, which the sheriffs would need to use the radar or LiDARs, and for them to be able to use that and be able to justify their use and be admissible in court is to be supported through an engineering and traffic survey, speed survey. So we've provided attachment 1, which is an excerpt from the California Vehicle Code regarding speed surveys and the requirements. And to help facilitate this discussion, we probably focus on attachment 2, which is a map of the city that we've had put together. And that'll provide you with some color codes in there that shows which streets throughout the city require the speed survey to be completed in order for the speed limits, etc., to be enforced by the radar and LiDARs for the sheriff's department. Those are the colors that you'll see in the map that are like a lavender, green, and the areas that are light blue are the school zone areas that they are able to use radar on currently, because we do have those limits and designations marked and signed within those areas. Also on the map you'll notice areas that we have previously completed speed surveys on. They're marked with X's and locations and the year that they were recently executed. And the most recent ones, you'll see they were surrounding the school areas because we were looking at speed limits in that area with the potential of reducing them to 15 miles per hour, which we did not enact at that time. So with that, staff is looking for direction as far as which streets you want to have reviewed and a speed survey completed on. We know one location in particular is McMurray Road, and we had mentioned in the past that we don't want to do speed survey on that location until all the construction is complete because there's too much variability to the traffic in that location. So keeping that in mind, that wouldn't be done with the suite of speed surveys, you know, if council so decides to move forward. There is a cost savings, obviously, to do more than one location at a time. To do one location and one survey, it's approximately $6,000. To add additional locations to that would be about $2,000 each, because then we can just accumulate all and process them all together. But there's still time specifically for, you know, to be spent at each additional location.
Okay.
So with that, staff's looking for direction as to where council wants to go from here.
I have a question.
Vice Mayor Andrasik?
Rose, one of our issues that's been ongoing for years is Central. Is that highlighted here?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay. Then the other comment or question I had is, what do other municipalities do with this item? Is there a grant route for people to request funding for their community?
I don't believe there's specific funds. They pretty much use general fund or whatever. If they have a section that's for safety, it just varies. I don't have a spreadsheet that has reviewed from the different jurisdictions.
Provided funds their own.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
Okay, I guess, help me understand. We're going to spend a bunch of money so we can put speed surveys on, so we can use LiDAR and radar, of which we have one car,
Correct.
which essentially won't be a lot of enforcement. So they'll be able to enforce it. Sorry. So they'll be able to enforce it, but we're not going to enable them effectively to enforce it because just of the limited manpower. Do I have a? I mean, I'm not trying to cause a stir.
No, then that's a valid question. But we do have one dedicated motor officer, so it's not like we have the patrol unit who has to go to calls. If there's an issue with 2nd Street, we direct our motor officer to enforce 2nd Street, Central or whatever.
So we have a 24/7 guy in Buellton, or gal, excuse me. We have a 24/7 motor officer in Buellton.
I wouldn't say 24/7, but he's in the audience right now. He's our dedicated motor officer during working hours, but he can adjust shifts accordingly.
So is it 7 days a week? I mean, is it 8 to 5, 7 days?
5 days a week.
Okay, so 4 days a week.
4 days.
Okay.
So we got yes, but no other jurisdiction has, other than Goleta, have motor officers to do this type of enforcement.
And I'm certainly not questioning the heroic efforts of the gentleman, so I'll take that the wrong way. I would hate to see us spend $20,000 so that he could enforce we can able to enforce radar, which in a few more spots, I would assume he's got bigger and better. I don't know. Okay, peace. I think that's.
Well, that's why we brought it to you for discussion. That's the point of the.
Well, I think there might be an avenue, because we have our physical motorcycle as a result of a grant from the Chumash, and that might be a place to go and look for this kind of funding.
Off and on.
Okay.
We also perhaps could put in a safe route to school grant for some of the other streets that we know the children are walking up Valley Dairy and Sycamore.
The school areas don't need the traffic survey. They
Right.
can do the LiDAR on those without anything. But
turning off of 246 towards the school,
Riverview.
you still have, there's still kids that live on Kaylor, Valley Dairy, and those.
well, we certainly could do the research on the CHUMASH as well as other grant programs to see if there's anything available for this. If that's
And they've had years that have no money. They did not fund any projects. So.
Do we have? I know.
And if I could, I don't mean to interrupt, Mr. Our city attorney has indicated that he can't hear because people need to speak into the microphones.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so say I take a 180-degree other direction from you, Councilmember Rife, and I say I want to see all of these streets that have not been done. What would the grand total ticket price be for doing? I mean, does it matter on the length? You're saying it's $6,000 for one, and then $2,000 for each additional. Is McMurray Road considered one, even though it's long?
Right, we'd have to look at certain segments, and we'd have to work with the sheriff's department to make sure that it's a reasonable segment. I didn't find anything that says every 500 feet or
that's what
so on.
I have no idea what the total cost would be to do something like this.
Right.
I do know that I have received numerous phone calls from residents who are very unhappy with the speeding that does go on, particularly Central, McMurray, Valley Dairy, and Riverview. And
we have and many of those sites already have speed surveys. The most complaints are on Riverview, at least the ones I've heard, and on Second, where we have.
Well, Second Street looks pretty good.
Yeah, and I live there, and I get more complaints about people flying. I see people flying down Second Street, and I'm not. Once again, I'm not bagging the heroic efforts of the gentleman in the crowd. I'm not. He can't be everywhere at all times, and it's the nature of the beast, you know. I don't foresee increasing. Look, here's the way I view it. Everyone's talking about we need to protect the kids going to school. The school has a $400,000 budget shortfall. You guys want to spend a ton of money to add speed surveys that we can't effectively enforce. We're having trouble effectively enforcing the speed surveys we funded. So,
And
I don't know what else to say on the topic. Sorry.
And without the speed surveys, we can't do anything, even if they see somebody flying down the street. They can pull them over and tell them they need to slow down,
But they
can't ticket them.
I understand, but they're flying down the streets now.
Central.
He can pay
What
some.
do you mean you can't ticket it?
Yeah, he can pay some.
Maybe Deputy Ellis can come up and discuss
Well, that'd be great.
how you could ticket somebody going 40 in a 25-mile-per-hour zone where you don't have the speed survey and can't use the LiDAR, or how that's enforced.
How do you stop these people from doing that?
Without a speed survey, that LiDAR, you can pace the vehicle. We just have to prove that their speed is unreasonable for the conditions of the roadway, or unsafe.
You know our town pretty well, Officer Ellis. Do you think that if somebody, the complaints I've gotten recently have been Central Avenue, Upper Central, coming down, could you, on your motorcycle, be able to, I mean, Central's a pretty small street, you really couldn't pace them. And be able to pull them over and justify that they were going at an unsafe speed without the radar? Could you do that?
It'd be extremely difficult to pace someone on Central because of not only the short length of the street, but the stop sign in the middle of it. It'd be hard because they'll slow down as soon as they get close to that, typically.
Unless they run it.
Well, and this resident was concerned because there's children up there, and the kids like to play in the street, so it's... Any questions for Officer Ellis while he's still up there? And thank you very much for coming up.
I have one. Go ahead, sorry, Officer.
No, you first.
Dave. There's a current survey on the 246, right?
Yes.
So we're only talking about all these other areas. What's the time frame on that one?
My understanding is 5 years typically, and then you can get extensions.
Well, the question I guess I should have said is, when did they survey that?
Last in 2015.
So we got till 20.
They're current.
Now, did
right
Caltrans do that or us? Did we do that?
Caltrans
did
did
that. Okay.
I have two questions. First off, thanks for all you do. Second question, not a statement. Real question is, so if you had to pick one spot, let's say we're going to spend 10 grand, you would pick one spot. Where would it be?
I'm not sure what is on the map. I would like to see Avenue of Flags done or redone because the traffic pattern has been redone on that road since the last survey was completed. That makes the survey invalid. there's a large traffic volume, I think, on that road, especially people coming off the highway. And I'm currently not able to use LiDAR on that road, and I don't get all the complaints that probably the city council does, but I have received, people have actually talked to me about having no flags, and I've been out there, and I think that's an area where I could help with the speed.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Officer Alex. Well, shooting, that one had the X's on it.
Yeah, but it's
2008. Right. So it is. It has expired.
yeah. Well, it's marked pink anyway, so that's pretty clear. So in that scenario, so just one more question for staff, and I hate to sound draconian, but when the people are ticketed, who gets the money? Does the city get the money?
The city gets a portion of it, but the county gets it because they're doing mostly the enforcement, but we get a small fraction of it. So it's not a revenue generator for the city.
So it will offset the cost?
Yeah, this one has.
So how come the county doesn't pay for the loss? The county, we have to pay for our own speed survey, but the county gets the money when the tickets are issued?
That is correct.
We're looking for moving, Dave.
We're right. The safety issues, the safety aspects of the enforcement.
Going to Ohio, I'll tell you that right now.
Okay.
I have a question, Mayor, for the ones with the X's on it. But those surveys were done on those particular years.
Yes.
So we're looking at these expiring is what we're looking at.
Right, 2008. The ones on Avenue flags have already expired, and as Deputy explained, the road conditions, the lane configurations have changed, so that would invalidate it.
So all these ones with the red X's have surveys on them.
Correct.
Or school zones.
Correct.
So we have until 20 to do these because they're 5 years from what I remember, right?
For the one on 2nd Street and a few of those, yes, it's about every 5 years.
I would be in favor of doing avenue flags because I think this is going to become a problem. I think with the construction there, with the apartments that went in there, the other stuff that's coming in there, I think that's going to become an issue.
So maybe we could scope it a little bit because that's a big street, and I hate to point the man on the spot, but did you have a preference on the side? Is it the downtown area, if you will, or is it the RV side?
I would say it's probably both sides.
Both sides.
Yeah, because people are smoking down the freeway. Madam Mayor, if I can ask Rose a question. Where did you get the numbers for this, I guess is what my question is. Where did that $6 grand come from? Was that how much we paid last time? Or is there only one person that does it?
No,
what's the organization? I guess I'm going to ask you that question. What's the organization that does it?
M&S has done it for us in the past,
right.
And that was roughly the cost we had when we completed them in the past.
So this is just your guesstimate?
Yes.
Have we ever gone out to ask anyone else?
I
think I'm sure they are because
right.
When I worked in the Highway Patrol, lots of people did these surveys.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not talking about one chicken.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, does Ken have a comment on costs?
These are the costs that we
Mm-hmm. So how much, Rose, to cover all the avenue? I got it, you don't know. I understand that there's some trivia there. Can we get it? I mean, do you have some guesstimate? Is it 100K? Is it 10K?
No, so right now, if we were to redo the avenue, I'd probably look at the same locations, 2 north of 246 and 1 south of 246. So that'd be 3 locations that was about $10,000 for that.
You want me to bring it? Sorry, it's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and you know, I haven't heard any complaints from Thumbelina, and I don't want to exclude them. We have heard complaints from Rancho de Maria, Riverview, Valley Dairy, Sycamore. Sycamore, usually they crash when they race down that one. They end up in the medium. Central, McMurray. I almost think we should do McMurray while they're doing all the construction because traffic is moving slower right now, so we could put a reduced speed on that one before it's all fixed and people are moving faster.
However, you would have an attorney say,
Okay, fine.
Shall I go on?
I have good ideas.
But that being said, the comments in the community are, what are you going to do when all of those townhouses are finished? There's 155 of them. Typically 200 to 300 cars coming in and out, and there's very little option. So it just seemed like that would be forward-looking. The others, we're landlocked on Central. There's nothing you can do other than look at it and say how bad it is or how adequate it is and go on. But McMurray is going to be an and you
issue
have
down
another
the line.
hotel coming.
I don't think we really can make any decisions without knowing the costs. So I would be very curious to know a breakdown of these streets and what the cost for. You say the first one is 6,000 and 2,000 each additional, but you don't know if that's 500 feet or if that's 5,000.
Yeah, but I think you have a general idea of how much it's going to cost just based on the placement of the X's. I mean, I think you should set. So I think you should get consensus. I would recommend that you form consensus on a dollar amount, if any dollar amount, and then decide. Because if you go down the road of, well, load this up with X's, you're not going to spend about 50 grand on this, so it doesn't matter, right? So if the answer is 15 grand, then okay, I'm not going to vote. I personally am not going to approve that, but maybe there's consensus. The rest of y'all, I don't know. So I would set a dollar amount and then have Rose go, okay, well here, we consensed on consensed. Is that a word? Got a lawyer, right?
Agreed.
yeah, agreed.
We had consensus on 12,000. What can we do with the 6 X's or whatever the heck it is? That's what I'd recommend you do.
And I think Mayor Sierra also wanted us to look at possible grant funding through the CHUMASH and other things, so we could take a look at that component as well.
Rose, what's the time frame? If you discussed it, I missed it. How long does it start to finish when you designate this? Is it a 6-month observation, or is it?
No, it's less than that.
90 days.
We could probably complete a study probably in about
Now, is this
2 to
putting
3 months.
sensors in the air and watching them, or
they're personal, actual physical counts during peak periods, etc.
People
with radar,
right.
actually doing the speed, because you have to know what the speed is.
You don't just put something down in the middle of the road.
Yeah, that just
does the traffic.
Because you have to track the actual speeds for each vehicle.
Before we give direction, I do need to open this up for public comment, although I don't believe there's anybody here that wants to get up and speak. If they do, this is your time. Closing public comment, I just want to make sure I get it in. I'll bring it back. Councilmember King, what did you want to say?
Well, from looking at this, we really only have 2 that are imminent, and that's Avenue Flags and McMurray, right?
Right.
The rest of them are good till 20. Well, you got these were done at 15 according to what it says on here.
Right, the school zones and the ones we've had.
The one that says 14 out there in the corner is school zone, so it doesn't matter. You can shoot radar in a school zone like I used to do.
Right.
But the ones that are really imminent until 20 are Avenue Flags and McMurray and over here on Kendall and those. But I mean, really, you see any deputy? You really seeing people over there on that neighborhood of Thumbelina? I mean, is there a speed problem in the Thumbelina area?
Not that I've observed during my hours.
Right. So really what we're only looking at is Avenue Flags and maybe McMurray, but you gotta wait on McMurray.
Riverview, Sycamore, Valley Dairy. I'd say we put a cap at 10,000 and see what can be done.
Mayor, can we put an RFP out for that rather than single source it?
That costs
It's
more
a
money.
pretty tiny amount of money.
It's going to cost more money. And delay.
Or the 10,000.
She's got to have to hire it. They're paying M&S to do a thing and put an RFP. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't know. Rose, does it not cost money to generate an RFP?
Yeah, and it's time to put that together and send it out.
Yeah.
would support that 10,000 cap.
That be an annual amount?
That's for a 5-year survey. That's for a 5-year survey, right?
Right, the survey would be good for 5
5-year
years, correct.
So it's
You
10
would
grand
be
for 5 years.
funding 2,000
But
a year,
we
then you
did-
can usually go to 20 if you're going to spread it out over 5 years.
We got to pay them up front.
And we're
No, we're
gonna
going to pay them up
this year.
front, but the survey's good for 5 years.
Oh,
And then perhaps next year, if we wanted to put another 10 and slowly get our entire town covered, which is what it should be. Okay, so do we need, Steve, do we need to make a motion on this one then?
I would do a motion.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that the city spend up to $10,000 and to bring back to council the different scenarios that could be done for that 10,000, including with Avenue of Flags definitely in it.
That's it. We can approve that. I'll vote for that motion, but Madam Mayor, just so you understand, it's going to cost $10,000 for Avenue Flags alone.
Probably.
Okay. Well then, why not just form consensus and not bring it back?
It
10,000.
might be more than 10,000.
Okay.
We don't know.
But we could form a motion that if it's greater than 10,000, bring it back. Otherwise, don't.
I would support that as well.
And if they could squeeze in Central or one other street for that 10,000? So much for that.
Sure. Send Rose.
Oh, come on.
Send Rose.
I
Send Rose on the negotiating table. I like it.
Grind them, Rose.
Okay, so that was your motion?
No,
That was your
My
motion.
motion? Well,
With my amendment. With
your
my
amendments.
amendment.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
I will second the motion with the amendment from
Thank you.
Councilmember Rife.
Thank you. Linda?
Okay, Mayor Sierra.
Aye.
Vice Mayor King.
Aye.
Councilmember Andrusik.
Aye.
And Councilmember Reich.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. Moving on to discussion and direction regarding industrial way lighting. Director Hess?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of City Council.
Big night for
Big
Rose.
night.
Oh, I need one though.
That's my cancer.
I will speak directly into the mic. Okay. Alrighty, so this is just to give you an update and status report for industrial way lighting. Staff's been working with PG&E on this since 2014.
Yeah.
The original direction was to proceed with an application to PG&E for design of streetlights on Industrial Way. Cost-effective method was going to be streetlights on one side of the road. They were going to be concrete overhead lighting, and this was due to the additional traffic, pedestrian traffic as well on Industrial Way because of all the restaurants and eateries and destination points at that area that has been constructed. At the 2016 council meeting, we provided another update on the status at that point in time. PG&E still hadn't completed their design. They ran into, design is really slow through PG&E, even still, because they're quite busy. That time period we had additional delays because now we're looking at easements that needed to be obtained that was discovered through that process. And at that council meeting, council had discussed not wanting the Cobra head lights anymore. The idea also, we wanted to go with LED to make sure they were energy efficient, and at that time there was no decorative lighting available through PG&E. If the city wanted to move forward with decorative lighting, the light poles would have to be owned and maintained by the city. So since that time we've been working with PG&E, they've been slowly moving forward. It's taken some time for the easement process, and they have obtained it at that point, and they needed a confirmation from the city which way we wanted to go. If we wanted to go with decorative or we wanted to continue going with the Cobra head lighting. And since that time, we have been continuing contact with them to see if now, since several years have passed, if they have new options for LED that are PG&E owned and maintained. And lo and behold, they do. As of this week, we just received additional attachments, which Mark has distributed to you. So you'll see on page 2 of the attachments, those are the decorative LED luminaire options provided. The staff was looking at it to review to see what council may be interested in. I would move against the first one that says Granville LED, the Acorns, because that is too similar to what the city owns and maintains, and I'd like to make sure that there's a differentiation that's easy for us to identify which are ours and which are PG&E's. The option that might be suitable and decorative is the one on the far right that says Memphis LED pedestrian lights. It's kind of an upside down, like lantern type. If you look at the very back page of the handout, you'll see the configuration for install for those lights. The one where they're hanging down is probably more suitable because then the light bulbs are down, not facing up. So it's more pedestrian focused. And that's what we would be looking at. Correct. We don't have an updated cost estimate from PG&E because they haven't completed design. The cost, they said, estimated between these decorative type fixtures versus the Cobra head is roughly the same. The difference is you'll need more of decorative lights as opposed to the Cobra heads to cover the same area that we want covered. They don't know how many more at that time because we haven't moved forward with the sign.
And we don't know how much.
No, because we don't. The cost-wise per light is the same. They say roughly the same between the Cobra heads and these. We just don't know exactly how many more lights would be required using the decorative lights.
Can I ask a few questions?
Are you done with your report yet?
Well, staff is looking for direction to see which way council wants to move forward with the lighting. We had recommended we want to install lights that are going to be PG&E owned and maintained. Liability-wise and long-term-wise, that is going to be much more efficient to have that done. And now that there's a decorative option, I think that meets everyone's needs for having LED light fixtures available. We just need confirmation if council does want to move forward with that. Then PG&E staff can continue to move forward with design using these type of lights and can get us cost estimate as they move forward to see how many they would need and so on.
Councilmember Wright, go for it.
Alright, sorry, I'm having trouble understanding staff package, so I'm looking at the little table you have, which is helpful, but I'm still not grasping. It's probably my fault. So forget whether we go with these or with Cobras. What do we pay? Are we paying for what are we paying for uniquely, regardless of which one we go for?
The city pretty much pays for everything. So the difference, at the time of the staff report, we did not know that there is a decorative option. And council's direction the last time we brought this to council was we want decorative.
Got it.
So we had put the table together to show, okay, there's going to be more costs involved.
I understand.
So that's what
so the table's irrelevant now?
Table's almost irrelevant now because now there's an option.
So now that we have more default options available to us under the PG&E decorative lighting options, okay, got it. What is the city? So regardless whether it's Cobra or not, I got it. What are we paying for?
We are paying for the design and the bidding process and the plans and specs and all the lights.
What is PG&E paying for?
PG&E doesn't pay for anything for this. They're doing the core electrical work. We still have to do civil work for it.
Damaged,
PG&E, yes. Once after everything's installed, long term, PG&E owns and maintains the lights. So if there's damages, the bulbs aren't out, if there's any issues, gets hit by a car.
Okay. So the big game by going through the PG&E route is the O&M.
Correct.
Okay, I understand. So if we do it, we own the O&M.
Correct.
If they do it, they own the O&M. But either way, we're paying the full boat to get it out.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, I understand. So now what you're suggesting is that because there's better options in the Cobras, we can select these. We still have to pay for it all. It's going to cost the same as the Cobra, so it's a wash. But if PG&E does it, then they got the O&M.
Correct.
Do I understand the situation?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
And just the one difference between the Cobra head versus the decorative, we probably will have to pay a little more for the decorative because there'll be more lights required.
That's what you say. You're
Just wanted to
just
clarify
buying
that
more
everybody's aware of that.
fixtures,
But-
and that's
And
So I hate to say it, but that is a key. I mean, I don't know what that really means. We got to buy more of them, piece. But does that mean it's going to increase the cost 200% because we need to buy that many more, or does that mean it's going to increase the cost 20%?
We don't
because
know.
the majority of it's in the pole and the electricity. You know what I mean? I don't know.
We don't know either until PG&E goes through the design process. We don't know exactly how many they weren't able to give us at this time. You know, it's for every one Cobra you need 2 of these. Or
What direction? I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but what direction are you looking for? If we can't talk money and there's not much we can really approve, you just want us to come up with, hey, we all like this design, and tell PG&E this is the design we like. Is that kind of what
we need to confirm which design council wants to move forward with, so that we can give PG&E a firm direction on how to move forward.
Okay, so last question. I'm sorry, my fellow members. So can we give them 2 options? Because if we know the last option, which I like, but because we have to buy more of them, costs a whole lot more money, are there other options where we don't have to buy a whole lot more of them? I.e., they're the same number as the Cobras, which would obviously be less. We just don't know to the extent of the lessness.
Like which one throws
You like that?
With the words.
You like that?
Like which one throws out?
Right in the dictionary as we go along
I'll tell
tonight.
you, you are good tonight.
You see what I'm getting at?
I do, but I do not have an answer to that because I don't know what option is I don't believe any of these options are a direct equivalent to the Cobra.
Okay, well, I would recommend. Okay, peace. Thank you very much. I'll wait till we.
So
Any other questions before I open public comment up?
Well, just to clarify that if the same luminous as a Cobra had would basically be the same. So I guess that's what my question is too. Is to go along with his is which one of these puts out as much light or luminous or whatever you want to call it as a Cobra head.
I don't think
because see some of these smaller ones like the Foster I think is getting at is you may have to put in 2 for every one that we would have an overhead Cobra head. Right.
So yeah, there's some ratio.
I'm sure that PG&E has a number of what the light spread is on these.
Right.
So that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, and that I don't have that information.
I'm just
Well, so what's this HPS equivalent? What is that? You know what that stands for? Okay.
on the table. Okay.
It's the old school lighting.
Hyposodium chloride.
Okay, so so these have HPS equivalents. So what's the Cobra head equivalent? What's the Cobra head HPS?
That's like the type of one.
These aren't being compared to Cobra heads, so that comparison is not in this handout for you.
I understand. You see what I'm getting at?
I do,
Okay.
but I don't have that information.
Because we just received it
And
basically
it's
the same time you did.
And it's wonderful that they're doing this. I actually kind of like the Contempo LED myself for that area. I think the Contempo LED, and it looks like it's got the same. There's a 4000K and a 3000K, and that's the same as the Memphis LED that you're pointing out. My question is, are any of these considered sky friendly, night friendly? That's a big deal.
We're hoping so, and that's something we will look at as we
That's
do
very
this.
important moving forward too.
Yes.
We need to be. I know a couple groups that are going to be here discussing it. I know we set money aside to see if we had any savings there, and do we have a balance in that account yet? I know it hasn't been going on very long. You know, when we put in the new LEDs that are supposed to save money,
Right.
and we were going to take that money in savings and put it into a special account.
Right, and I don't believe there has been any monies that. The difficulty for us is while usage may be down, rates have gone up. So
Got it.
I don't believe that there has been much
That's why I have
savings
solar.
that were.
That's why I have solar. Okay, gonna open it up for public comment real quick. Don't see any speaker slips. Getting ready to close public comment. Closing public comment, bringing it back for direction to Director House regarding industrial way lighting.
So,
Vice Mayor Andrusik, anything?
You know, light pointing down has got better lumens than light pointing up. And so I just don't, this is industrial way. The whole purpose of this evening, getting to the table for discussion, was the fact we have a half a mile of sidewalk area in the dark, and we've invited people to come out and stroll down the sidewalk where there's no light. So I think it's for our own protection to get the best bang for our buck, and I don't know why we would want to buy more lights for the same area. When I talked with John Peterson, he had already set in trenches based on what the productivity would be. Now, since he's done that, the program that we had, I mean, I think us partnering with PG&E would be the most sensible thing, regardless of how cute or uncute it is, because they just came through and we got a major increase in our lighting, free of charge, as I remember. They just switched them out,
yeah.
and we have better lighting, and it's that was the whole purpose, was to light the streets, and it's not going up; it goes straight down. And I know I talked to is it the We Watch or Lady Emma? Is it or Edith? No.
Nancy.
Nancy. I saw her, and I thought she was going to be here, but they have a different opinion about it. But this, I think, is a safety issue more than a decorative issue. We've got all kind of architectural programs on industrial way. We don't have to worry about Art Deco necessarily, but it's the safety, and that's what I would be more concerned about. The sooner the better we get lit sidewalks. I think the safer the industries that are open until, are they 10 o'clock? So most of them are closing 9, 10 o'clock.
which one do you like?
I like a Cobra. I don't like any of these. I don't see a Cobra here.
That's because Cobra's Cobra. We just provided you with the decorative ones that we just received. The Cobra's still on the
To say which one I like, the one where the globe is pointing down and there's not an open space to light the...
Like this.
Yes. It's not
Okay, so he does like the Memphis pointing down.
Memphis pedestrian.
Okay. I'll go. So I would like to see staff. I like the Memphis pointing downward. I think that's attractive.
Yep.
I'll agree with that. Before any hard decisions are made, I would recommend I hate to say it, I'm not a fan of tabling topics, but I think this topic should be tabled until you can come up with
Some numbers.
clarity for PG&E on. Yeah, we like the
Distance
Memphis.
between the lights.
We like the Memphis, but it's X amount more because we need Y more lights, and what options are available in these others. Because I think there's some attractive ones, like the Edge looks kind of cool. Like I think there's some cool ones here, and if those can be equivalent to the Cobra type, numbers wise and cost wise, then I think that's something that should be considered. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And is that doable, or is PG&E not going to do anything until we tell them what we want them to do?
We can ask. I don't know what kind of, what they'll respond with.
Okay.
We can ask if we can get that kind of information.
Okay, I'm not sure. I gotta understand. They won't even tell you how much things cost, and we have to make a decision to buy things without knowing how much they cost. I mean, is that what you're saying?
We just got this information today, and this is as much information. It's just taking time to get information from them.
I just wondering,
Yes.
so PG&E says they can't tell us the cost. We just have to buy it, and then they'll tell us how much it costs after we buy it.
They're giving us the ballpark cost. They have to go through their engineering process and into design to find, the placement and see how many that we would need.
Wow.
So we can make an estimate and we can discuss that with them to see what the options are.
I won't be here. You guys have fun with that.
Hey, come back and visit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Bring your flashlight.
Okay, I like the Memphis ones. If nothing else, then yeah, well, peace. I guess that much be said. Pointing downward.
So the direction is to move forward with PG&E and just find out that we are definitely interested in the decorative. But before we make a decision between that and a Cobra, we really do need to know what kind of money our city is looking at spending.
Okay.
Peace.
Yes.
He agrees.
Peace.
Yeah.
I just want to follow up on what, can we get what I talked about or ask about, we get a number, because I see what Foster is saying, is that you may have to have 10 of these versus 6 of those.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, and that's what we're going to ask. That's what we're going to clarify with them.
That's what I want to see in detail.
And then we're going to ask them about for all these light options too, not just the.
She's
the same sheet of music.
She's just, yeah, but what she's essentially saying is that it's not her fault. What she's essentially saying is PG&E is most likely not going to answer the question until we provide clarity. Essentially, it's I work for the government. You work for the government.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I understand you want to know how much it costs. That's great. But you need to tell me what you want, and then I'm going to tell you how much it costs.
Right. But they, I'm sure, have a number of, this has a radius of, X amount of feet, versus this one has a radius of X amount of feet. Is this what?
Mayor King, we will do our best to get that information. We are going to try. They may or may not.
What she's saying is that
PG&E is going to say we want a design
pattern. The engineering department would have to weigh into that.
But somebody, I think, should be able to tell you at PG&E, this throws out X amount of light for this far.
And I would like to know if they're night friendly or not.
Of course.
Yes.
Because that is going to come up. Alrighty. We don't need a motion. You've got your direction there. City Manager's report.
Thank you. City Hall will be closed on the 22nd and the 25th for the Christmas holiday. So Planning Commission does have a meeting on the 21st. We will be finalizing, hopefully, action on the network project that received favorable response from the Planning Commission on December 7th. So that's Gavin's industrial project on the old bowling alley site. We do have one application to change out a water meter under the new program established by the City Council.
Who?
Mr. Licken, of course.
Yes!
Really? We have no other applications, but we put notices in the water bill so people are aware of it. So
how much is he partaking of the money?
He's only asking for one property at this point in time, and staff's still reviewing to see. We have to schedule because we're down some staff. We've got the holidays and so on.
So what's the estimate you think it's going to take out?
Yes.
So you don't know?
I don't know.
Yes. And there's a lot of air quality information on how to protect yourself, how to clean up. That's on our website. It's on the APCD website. It's on the Santa Barbara County Office of Emergency Management website. It's in the news, and we have flyers at the office as well.
Don't use the blower.
Don't use the blower is one thing that they suggest not to do because it just blows it back up into the air. Anyway, I wish everybody happy holidays, safe holidays, and we'll see you back again in January 11th, I believe.
January 11th. Steve, thank you for calling in. We're very sorry for your loss.
I appreciate that, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to call in today. Although I was a little sad that I didn't get to come up and see Buellton at Christmas time. I've always enjoyed driving through and seeing all the lights up in the neighborhoods there. So
it is fun.
I'll wait till next year to do that.
Thank you very much. Well, you have a good Christmas, and I hereby adjourn this meeting. We'll see you all Thursday, January 11th, 2018.
And please, Linda got